Let's go to political analyst Robert Kelly. He's a professor of political science and diplomacy at Pusan National University, and he joins us now live from Busan in South Korea. Welcome to the show. Tell us, who can stop Kim Jong from getting more nuclear material to make bombs if he wants? He told, the Korean Central News Agency said that he actually wants to expand his nuclear arsenal exponentially.
Yeah, so what do we do? No one really can stop the Kims from building more of these weapons if they really insist, right? I think that's sort of the lesson of the last 20, 25 years is that if the North Koreans really insist on marching towards nuclear weapons, as they're doing, then they can, in fact, get there. We might be able to get the North Koreans into some kind of arms control deal. I think this is what Donald Trump was reaching for a few years ago. Certainly the previous South Korean president wanted to do that. But the North Koreans have not been particularly good counterparties in negotiations. They often lie and dissemble. And so it's been really difficult to sort of pin them down to some kind of commitment. So I think we're really stuck with this problem for the foreseeable future. North Korea is a nuclear power. And we're going to have to adjust to that. And
is there any sign of actual dialogue right now? We saw here that, Kim Jong has said that these drills were a prelude to an invasion, but no dialogue.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Biden administration has said that, the North Koreans need to come to us. I mean, this is kind of like a back and forth thing, right? Sort of a question of like stature or chicken and egg, like who's going to sort of look like they want to make the first concession or something like that. And the North Koreans have played a pretty tough game on this. And you kind of understand because they're in a bit of a position of strength here, right? I mean, they got the nuclear weapons, which means it's now very hard for South Korea, the US, or Japan to take military action against North Korea should they misbehave or do anything really terrible, right? I mean, we're really constrained now by their nuclear weapons. And so Kim, again, played very hard to get with Donald Trump a few years ago. And I think one of the reasons why the Biden people are not actually sort of promoting much of an agenda with North Korea is because they don't want to get suckered in the sense that I think that Trump, that now we feel like Trump got, right? That Trump went over there and met him. It was this big thing. It was all over TV for a year or two, and Trump didn't really get anything. And so the Biden people, I think, want, and also the current South Korean government, want the North Koreans to put something on the table before they come back to negotiations. But they're not doing that. Hence your point there that we're not having any dialogue.
And that lack of dialogue, how much is a stronger, emboldened China that we've been seeing? How much of a role are they playing behind the scenes?
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely. China is really important here, right? I mean, the North Korean economy really can't function without external subsidy, right? I mean, back during the Cold War, of course, it was the Soviet Union that helped keep North Korea alive. And then when Soviet support was withdrawn in the 1990s, North Korea entered a really serious economic collapse that led to the starvation of about 10% of its population. It was really on the brink. And the Chinese stepped up, the Chinese stepped in and have been bailing out North Korea, particularly on fuel and a few other things. The Chinese helped the North Koreans get around sanctions and park North Korean elite monies in their banks and things like that. And so without China, right, per your question, I think North Korea would be in a great deal of trouble, right? And so, China's kind of the silent partner. But again, it's really difficult for the Americans, Chinese, the South Koreans, the Japanese, the South Koreans, the relevant parties here. It's difficult for us to push the Chinese, in part because the US and China are kind of drifting apart now, right? I mean, the relationship just is poor across the board, and so it's difficult for us to leverage Chinese help, assistance with North Korea. It's sort of too bad, actually.
And really, what is at stake if even more nuclear weapons are developed exponentially, and who would they be used against?
Sure. I think the North Koreans, I think like most nuclear powers, the North Koreans don't actually want to use them, right? I mean, nobody has any idea what would happen actually on the day after like a major nuclear strike. I think what they're really designed to do is to prevent particularly the Americans from attacking North Korea in the way that the Americans attacked, say, Gaddafi in Libya or Saddam Hussein, right? I think the idea is that North Korean nuclear weapons permanently prevent any kind of imposed force-driven regime change by the Americans, right? The Americans can't sort of send in an aircraft carrier and send out the divisions and roll into North Korea. That option is now permanently foreclosed. I think that was really the point. I do not actually believe, and there's some debate in the analyst community, but I don't actually believe the North Koreans intend to use these to like overrun or attack South Korea. I think North Korea's intention primarily now are just defensive. They just want to sort of hang on and not collapse, and nuclear weapons ensure them against American attack.
Robert Kelly, fantastic to have you on the program. As always, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate your analysis and time.
Thank you for having me.